Alright, so I just watched a video from a guy named No Bullshit on YouTube. Um, this guy's a racist asshole. He wants to throw labels on people and be an asshole about it. The main people he goes after are the liberals. So that's the problem, clustering people into groups. The mentally ill, the Democrats, the Republicans, the liberals. Well, it's groups that I have an issue with. It's the individual that should count. Now, there's a lot of stuff that this racist asshole said that I actually agree with. But there's a lot of stuff that he said that I don't. So I guess I should go off on that, since I fight for human rights. Whether you're black, Native American, woman, it don't matter. You're a human being and you deserve to be treated like a human being. Now, some of the stuff that I agreed with as far as he goes, because this particular video of his was about DNA results. It was a black woman who got her DNA results back, and it said she was mostly European. It's not a big surprise. He was talking about a lot of the anti-white rhetoric and a lot of the racism towards white people. And he's absolutely right about a lot of that stuff. Like this woman, she was excited to find out what part of Africa her family was from. Come to find out, she's mostly European. So she was angry about being white. Now for me, I know that I have black folks in my ancestry. And I'm not insulted by that. But there's other stuff that this guy said that I really had an issue with. He was trying to say that black people didn't contribute to society. Black people never really did anything except run around killing each other and selling each other off as slaves. When in reality, there's a lot worse things that have gone on in history, and black people have contributed quite a bit. I mean, most of ancient technology that we use to this day, we got from Africa. That's right, Africa. The oldest stonemasons were African. The oldest structures on the planet the oldest stone structures on the planet are African. The first steel tools, the first iron tools, the first copper tools, all African. Now, this guy tries claiming that there's no racism today against black people, but he wants to complain about racism against white people. With all due respect, it all still exists, and it's all still just as wrong as it was 200 years ago. Now, this woman freaking out and being angry because there's nothing interesting about her because she's part white, well, I can agree with some of his sentiments on that. Some of the things that he had to say about her freaking out, well, if a white person was complaining about being part black like that, they'd be called a racist. Somehow it's different. The rules are different depending on who you are. But there's another thing that he talks about. He talks about victim points. Getting victim points. Well, with all due respect, they're not victim points. The complexion of her skin is darker. And that does make it so that she is more likely to be victimized. However, she's also very pretty, which kind of nullifies that. Sure, you're still going to run into racist assholes, but the fact is, most of the black people in the United States are not 100% black. How could they be? I've met plenty of people from Africa. We don't have very many people in the United States who are that dark. For a black person to find out that they're part European, well, that's not a far stretch here in the United States. See, prior to the Civil War, it was common for slave owners to rent out their slaves to travelers passing through. It's called human trafficking today. Back then, they just called it having a good time. Is it any more wrong today than it was then? No, it's all wrong. It's all wrongness. But a lot of those babies, obviously, being as they have a black parent, came out darker complexion. That doesn't mean they're less human. that doesn't mean that they're not human. We have a major issue today with a lot of white people trying to ignore the racism and pretend that it doesn't exist because we made slavery illegal. Well, we didn't make slavery illegal. Matter of fact, the Civil War did the opposite. The 13th Amendment was enacted just after the Civil War, but it was introduced during the Civil War. Now, the 13th Amendment made it so that anybody who is a criminal can be used as slave labor by the state, and that's how we ended up with chain gangs. Black people to this day are victimized for the color of their skin. Not as much as homeless people, though. The only way you're going to get more screwed than being a homeless male, or the only way you're going to get more screwed than being a homeless person is to be a homeless male. And the only way to get more screwed than that is to be a homeless male minority. Pretending that these issues don't exist doesn't make you right. And talking trash on this black girl, well, it's racist as shit. This guy claiming that there's no racism today against black people, but he's whining about the racism against white people. With all due respect, there's racism against both. We've got racism, we've got sexism, we've got nationalism, and we've got classism. The problem is, most of the folk that I know that are in houses are lucky to have the roof over their head. And they're fighting all they can to keep that roof over their head. Now, they're all pissed off at the government because the government has all of these things that they have and expect out of all the citizens of the United States, and they keep contributing, but they don't get anything out of it. They keep throwing money in, but getting nothing back. They can't take it out on the people who are doing this, but they know they can get away with doing it to homeless people and minorities, so that's who they take it out on. Now, I'm not saying it's right, because it's not. But the fact is, we got a lot of people who are of the mentality that only white people can be racist and only men can be sexist. It's just straight ignorance.